Hey everybody, Dr. Ray here, and today I want to talk about how to increase the amount of money you have. There's a very simple explanation to this, and there are really two ways to do it. And within those two ways, there are a bunch of different paths that one can choose to increase the amount of money they have. So the first way to do it is to A, increase the amount of money you make, and B, decrease the amount of money that you spend so that you're saving more. So if you want to increase how much money you have, there are two ways to do it. Increase the amount of money you make, decrease the amount that you spend each month. Let's talk about each of those. Let's go in. We're not going to get too detailed into every single thing that you can do, but let's talk about the basics. All right, first thing, make more money. How can you do that? So, the very simple answer is, go ask your boss for more money or more hours if you work hourly or something like that. But realistically, for a lot of people, they just can't do that because their boss is just going to say no. In some cases, people are lucky to have what they do have. So that's not always the easy solution. But, some cases people are able to go and ask. So let's say you do want to get more money from your boss. The general response of how to actually do that is to get another job and have an offer, or just get another job and take it that pays more. So those are the ways to really get more money from work. But what a lot of people do, including myself, one thing that I'm a huge fan of are what's called side gigs. And it's funny that we call it a side gig, because side gig sounds like kind of like, if I think about like a side gig, if someone said side gig in like the 90s or early 2000s, I would have thought like some like, I don't know, shady job that you're working. But now side gig is what we call your second job. It's now called a second job. Like in the 90s, we said you're working multiple jobs. That's what you're doing. That's what your side gig is. Your side gig is a multiple job. But with the internet, with communication, with Zoom, with all the cool stuff we have out there, with the skills that you have, I tell people, find out what skill you have and figure out how can I leverage that into some kind of paid position. So for example, for myself, some of the things that I can do, I'm a university professor. So some things that I can do are, just at my university, I can teach in the summer, but I can adjunct in the summer at other universities because I have experience. I can also take topics that I have. I can develop courses. I usually shy people away from doing things if they come to me and they're like, I want to start a YouTube channel, I want to start a website, I want to start a blog. Those are all great things, but they require a lot of dedication, and I see so many people fail at them. That's not to say that I won't encourage someone to do it if they want to and help them and show them how to do it, but I usually just see a lot of people have a cool idea for a video series or a blog. They have like 5 to 10 posts in mind. They do those few first posts, and then they kind of don't have an actual show. They don't have anything to continue to talk about. So I see that all the time, and motivation is hard when doing something like that. My other YouTube channel has like 700 videos. The motivation it takes to make 700 videos is a lot. So those are the ways to increase the amount of money you have. You can ask your boss for more money. You can go and try to negotiate a higher salary at another position or your current one, or you can get a side gig. I love the side gig option. Can you do consulting? Do you have any skills? You can clean houses, do yard work. There's so many different kind of side gigs that one can do. Can you tutor in math or whatever? Lots of different ways to do that. So think about ways that you can maximize your earning potential by earning more money. Obviously, this involves more time, so consider that when you think about your work-life balance. All right. The other thing that you can do, and this is a big one for a lot of people, is decrease the amount of money you spend. Let me just give you an example. Someone makes $200,000 a year, but they spend $200,000 a year on dinners, vacations, clothes, non-investing type of assets. Let's say they make $200,000 a year, they spend $210,000 a year on all that kind of stuff. Let's say someone makes $50,000 a year, but they only spend $45,000 and save $5,000. Who actually has more money? The person who has more money is the person that's saving the $5,000 per year. One of the things I like to tell people is your savings power is the amount that you're currently saving. So The person who's able to save $5,000 a year has a much better handle on their lifestyle than the person who's making $200,000 a year but spending $210, 210. So think about that. So what I like to do with people, and oh my gosh, I could look at every person, like 99% of the population, and just cut their expenses so much by looking at a list. So what I like to do, and I know this is a big pain for people, so I have a couple options, couple things that I like to tell people to do, almost like 3 different options for figuring out how much you spend. All right, the first thing that I recommend, and I think this is the best way to do it, is take a full entire month of your life and just write down, go on your phone app, create like a Google Doc. Every time you spend money, or your spouse, your family spends money, you put it on the Google Doc, and at the end of the month say, what did I spend my money on, and how much do I have? Like how much am I left over? Like what are my real expenses? The other way to do it, which is a little cheating a little bit, but still okay, is just to do that for 1 week, because a month can be tedious for some people and they just can't do it. Just do it for 1 week and then add in things like your mortgage and bills and stuff on top of that, because that can also give you a really good estimate. The thing that I don't really recommend, that I think people do a bad job of, is just trying to come up with a budget themselves, because you're missing like that time you went to Starbucks, you're missing like the extra lunches and dinners that you went on, that kind of stuff. So I really like the month-long budget. But what you do is you take that month-long budget and you look at it. And you say to yourself, for the first thing that I like to do is I like to break that month-down budget into wants versus need. Wants versus need. I'm not saying wants are bad or anything, but let's start with the bare basics. What are all the things I actually need that are on this budget? I might need like a house. I might need groceries. I might not need to spend $5,000 a month on groceries, but I at least need to eat. So what are like the needs things here? And then what are the wants? And let's assume that your budget is pretty much, let's just say you're spending all of and there's different scenarios. Like there's the person who looks at their budget and is like, whoa, I'm saving $5,000 a month. There's the person who's looking at it and saying, okay, I spend what I make. And then there's the person that's like, whoa, I'm in debt. So when I look at those 3 types of budgets, your wants and needs vary significantly. So let's just consider like the average person who's basically spending pretty much what they make. They're not really saving any money. What I would do is I look at their budget and I say, well, you know what? How many times did you eat out? Like, let's say you went to lunch 3 times per week, every week. And that ended up costing like a lot of money, $20 a time. So that's an extra $60 a week, 60 times, so $240 a month in a 4-week month. So can we eat out 2 times per week? And then all of a sudden we save $80. Like, that's a nice chunk of change, right? $80 that we could put towards savings or whatever, pay off debt. We look at things like that. What can I do? And then you can look at that list. The first thing that you do when you look at that list is you say, what on here doesn't even impact me? Like, you know what? I didn't realize that I was paying for that streaming service that I totally don't even use. And I can easily cut that, and that's $15 a month that I just saved. Doesn't impact my life whatsoever. So what are the things on this list that you can cut that do not impact your life at all? Those are the first things that could just cut them. So me and my wife did that. We do it like every summer pretty much. We didn't last summer because we were in COVID and we weren't really spending any money. But the summer before that when I did that, I tried to do it like once or twice a year. I remember the last time we did it, we came up with, oh man, I didn't realize I was spending $500 a month on a cleaning lady coming to my house every week. $125 a pop for her and her team to come in and clean my house. And I realized, even though I have 3 kids, like, my house didn't get that dirty. Like, it was really the pickup of the house that we did beforehand that's really what we needed. The big deep clean that they did was something we probably needed like every other week, maybe even once every 3 weeks. So we cut out the amount of times we were getting our house clean, noticed no effect, no difference, and same thing. I cut out a bunch of streaming. There was so many things that I cut out. And I'm so particular about my budget, and yet each time I go through and do this, I find new things that we just added throughout the year that I necessarily didn't realize. Sometimes I catch things on my credit card doing this. Like some fee that we signed up for, they're charging me like $5 a month, and I just didn't catch it for a few months. So always look for that. Now, if you're the type of person who is in debt, looking at this list and saying what's your want versus need. And there's a whole video and blog podcast I need to talk about where we're just talking about, cutting things for debt. But you've got to ask yourself, like, okay, I'm in debt $500 a month and I'm paying $700 a month for my car payment. Well, then we got to start talking about, like, we need a vehicle, but maybe we don't need a vehicle that's $700. And I'm not one of those people that says you need to buy a $5,000-$10,000 car, because I know that's not realistic for a lot of people who, like, need a good truck for work and stuff like that. I get it. I think people that just make that blanket statement aren't in the same position. They just don't understand common people, because I'll tell you what, you can't buy like a $5,000 truck that's going to work for work, be reliable, and actually function well. It just doesn't work like that. So, I'm not one of those people that makes that claim. But, like, if you're in debt and you have your vehicle that, is a $40,000 just commuter car, then we're talking like, okay, we could easily get a $20,000 brand new $20,000 commuter car that serves the same purpose, does the same thing, and is half the price. So, there's some things you got to work out when you start balancing those numbers. But when you're the person in debt, your wants and needs differ significantly from the person who is not. And when I say debt, I don't always include, like, I'm not always including, like, oh, your mortgage payment. I'm including, like, I can't pay my bills because I have so much, like, credit card debt because I have these bad investments or whatever. I'm not paying, when I say debt, I mean I'm not paying my bills. I can't afford life every single month. How do we do this? So the ways, and I'm getting off topic by going into debt too much, but, so it's very simple. The ways that we increase the amount of money we have. There are two ways. It's that simple. Yeah, it's not simple actually doing it, but it's really that simple to think about. We increase the amount of money we make, or we spend less. It really comes down to those simple concepts. I tell people, like, someone asked me, like, I do a lot of stuff with, like, exercise and health, and people will be like, well, how do I lose weight? And I can tell them, but losing or gaining weight all comes down to the amount of calories that you consume. And there's working out, all kinds of things you can do to change that formula. But just, you don't consume as many calories as you need and you will lose weight. You consume more calories than you need and you will gain weight. Spending and finance is not much different than these, simple concepts of, if I want to increase the amount of money I have to make more, or I have to spend less and have more to save. So that's the way you do it. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comment box below. And have a great day, everybody. See ya.